Hello, everybody. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, whenever you tune in and watch or listen to this, whether it's on the Rabble Network or the Heart and Hand Network. Hello and welcome to the crossover with Martin and David. My name's Martin. I am your host, and I am, of course, joined by David Edgar. David, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, mate. How are you? Nice start to 2026, I hope.
I've put on so much weight.
I can see it in your face. If I'm
Yeah,
honest.
so much weight. Thanks for not doing the normal thing. Oh, fuck, no, you haven't. You look great.
No, there's no point lying. No point being dishonest. But it's post holiday. I mean that's the whole point of Christmas, isn't it? That we all sort of pig out a wee bit.
Yeah, there's pigging out, but and then there's just been a greedy fat bastard.
Well, there's been a fair old amount of boxes of celebrations and heroes, etc., kicking about here as well. But now it's well, I was going to say it's back to normal, but you know what my diet's like at the best of times, so it's pretty much the same as it's always been.
The sad reality is that it's not the Christmas stuff that's made me put the weight back on. It's the chocolate and the crisps and the sweeties. And the even sadder thing is, in this, obviously, I don't want social work at the door, but when my missus buys in the sweets for the Wayne's play piece, she says, "Don't you eat them?" And I go, "Okay, I won't," and then I eat them.
Yeah, there seems to be a big rise in the amount of fat children there these days.
And my Wayne's not, because she doesn't get a chance to eat a play piece.
Well, that's probably healthy, but yeah, you notice it when you're like, I go to family parties and stuff, and I'm like, I think it was because when I was a kid, you went out and played all day.
Yeah.
There was nothing else to do. So I think now that they've, don't get me wrong, if I'd had a PlayStation 5 when I was a kid, I'd probably stayed in a lot more than I did.
I know. Do you know? And just before we talk Rangers, one night me and the missus were sitting and we were kind of bored cooking. So it says to Phoebe, who's 11, what do you want from? And my missus was ordering from the chippy. I'm not going to go into the big spiel about how much I hate a chippy, but anyway,
chippy is the worst takeaway.
Chips are disgusting, right? People who eat chips are evil.
I get a notion every so often for a fish supper, but it is a notion. It's
you
not
like
a regular
chips?
thing. No, I generally just get a single fish. Now you mention it.
That's why me and you got on, because we both hate chips.
Yeah, generally, yeah.
Said to Phoebe, "What do you want from the chippy?" And she went, "Mum, Dad, can you not just go in and cook something healthy?"
Oof. See, it's different world now. Different world now.
Funny you should say different world, David, because it seems to be a different world now being a Rangers supporter.
Yeah, from last when we spoke.
It would appear, David, that we have quite a lot of money.
Oh, I mean, that hasn't changed. I know that everyone in Scotland is reluctant to accept that, but at the end of the day, Rangers have had investment, and the people that are coming in are prepared to put money into the club. We knew that anyway. I don't, we're not outrageous spending, but they said they were going to spend in January, and they are quite clearly. I think that's 2 players in for about 7-8 million roughly. The loan deal for Scott Olsen, if and when it becomes complete, is not free. There's a hefty fee involved, even just to get him on loan. And I don't think we'll be done at that point. So part of it is correction from mistakes. That they spent a lot of money in the summer badly, and it needs doing. Part of it, I think, is where we are. With all due respect, if we were maybe 20 points behind at this stage, I don't think they would be spending quite so much money. But the season is still very much live. But Rangers, the investment in Rangers isn't finished by these guys. They're not sugar daddies. They're not just going to pour endless amounts of money into the football club. We know that it's going to be run. The key word they always come away with is sustainably.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with the way Rangers were being run this season, Martin, was never about are they going to put any money in or are they trying to take loads of money. It was never that. It was always they're just doing it badly, But I've never had any doubts about that, their ambition and the fact that they, what they want to do with the club. But you can have all the ambition in the world and you can spend a lot of money. If you don't do it right and you don't have the right people making the decisions, then you end up with the first 3 months of Rangers by 26. But I think if there is one encouraging thing about this season, and there are a few, but in a way, the pain that we went through and the amount of it so quickly, I think removed a lot of misapprehensions that they maybe had, a lot of wrong assumptions that they had. That the meeting last week with fans group and Andrew Kavanagh and Fraser Thornton and James Taylor, I was witnessing because they wanted it reported, which I think is interesting in itself. It wasn't a behind closed doors thing; they wanted it out there. And he said a really interesting thing. He said, "I think one of the mistakes that's been made here, both with us and previous boards, has been trying to run this almost like a mini Premier League club, and we're a big Scottish club." And that means we've got different challenges, different finances, different ambitions, different expectations, different climate politically, all of these things. And he said, and the idea that perhaps you can just look at the EPL and go, oh, right, that's how they do it, therefore we will take everything and try to do it here. He says it doesn't work. And it doesn't work. And maybe in a way, the fact they had to go through that at the start might actually prove beneficial, because I think there's been a realization that you can't do this. This is a unique environment that has unique challenges. And if you just think that you can say, well, we did this somewhere else and it'll all work here, you can have ideas, you can have best practice, all that stuff. Of course you can. But if you don't take into account the fundamental uniqueness of Rangers FC and its position in Scotland and in Scottish football, then you're on to a loser.
I think you can actually see what the board are trying to do, because see, at the end of the day, we're a very, very big fish in an extremely small pond. We practically, us and, let's be honest, Celtic take up pretty much 99.9% of that pond, and there's very little room left for the rest, which means when you're trying to compare it, and I know a lot of people don't because you can't, when you're trying to compare it to the EPL, if you look at like a Bournemouth, for example, I don't know who you would equate them to in the Scottish League, but let's say Aberdeen.
But exactly, you couldn't equate them to somebody.
The money that a Bournemouth get
because the
in
money
that league
and the level of player that they have access to, the challenges they face are so totally different to us. And I think that we have been very guilty of, as a football club, something that fans have actually reached quicker than people running the clubs in Scotland, I think, which is this automatic assumption that, well, they were in England, they must be good. I think fans up here realised that it was the same with, we were linked with a player, I can't remember who, but from a club down south there, just a rumour, there's dozens of them at the moment. But the first reply was for a guy at that club, and he said, oh, he'd kill it in Scotland. And immediately people were saying, do you know how many times we've been told that over the years by players who came up?
Joey Barton was going to come up and run Scottish football.
Kill it up here. Thomas Gravison, going back years to
Roy
Celtic, Roy Keane. So the idea that it's automatic that people are going to come up here, also as executives, well, I've been in the EPL and that's great, that's brilliant, but it doesn't automatically transfer it up here. And I think that what Stuart and Farewell and Martin showed is that what they didn't know was almost as important as what they did know. And more importantly, what they weren't prepared to learn is the other thing as well, because you have to be aware of everything that goes on, everything that's involved in putting together a successful Rangers team, and saying that, well, we did this here, and we go back to right at the start. Russell Martin was, well, any club I've been at, there's been pain at the start and it's worth it. And it's like, no, it doesn't work like that here. You don't get 3 months to bed in a philosophy or a style. And that fundamental lack of understanding of what the situation was. And I think that, the noises from the club kind of suggest that they got a painful crash course in it. But you learn, I think, sometimes more from negativity than success. It would be nice to test that out by being successful for a bit, but I think that you can take lessons, and so long as you then apply them correctly, and that's the next stage for Rangers. So I think that you've seen a definite move in a different direction, and whether or not now that will show itself, we'll have to wait and see. But the signs are definitely that they do feel that there's some changes they've got to make.
Do you think, with the recent performances,
Mm-hmm.
and albeit I think a lot of that is down to the manager, but with recent performances from certain individual players who maybe have come into the football club, and apparently, obviously, with Tour Romans, that was a Kevin Thelwell scouted player as well. Do you think in time we will look at Kevin Thelwell slightly differently than the way we are now? And I say that, David, with I get it. All we done was look down south. It was completely wrong. He didn't make so many mistakes. But certain players? No. Just a straight no.
Just a straight no. In fact, no. Shh. Shh. Got a big bag of shh over here to do my Dr. Evil impression. No, because, again, the fact that certain players are beginning to look... We are terrible at Rangers for revisionism, right? We are absolutely terrible at going, well, actually, when, were they that bad? And we romanticise the past, something chronic, which is why there's this fascination with ex-players that our support has. And in the case of Thelwell, yes, Sharmiti is looking better, right? Still doesn't look like an £8 million player, if we're being totally honest, right? Did at Parkhead, and that was a good start. But I think you can see that there's a player there. It doesn't change the situation, which is that Rangers didn't need an £8 million player who is going to grow into a very good player in 2-3 years. Rangers, for £8 million in the summer, needed a player who was good to go. That doesn't change it. And the fact that, the manager is helping to turn him around, and he clearly is a better player than we first thought, doesn't change the fact that it was the wrong decision to sign him at that point. If after a couple of years of success, you can then do that and say, we're buying this boy, but he's for the future. He's not going to come in and be the best player. He's going to come in and take time to bed in. And fans go, okay, yeah, sure. But you don't do it when they need to be the man straight away.
Yeah.
Secondly, there's also then a lot of forgetting has gone on because people are saying, well, he's looked better. Magoma, I think, has done brilliantly, considering he's been the only boy. He's been available every week. He's kept going, and now he will be able to make changes in that area with the signing of Romans. But he's done fine as well. Fernandez beginning to, absolutely look like a better player, but still signed Joe Rothwell, still signed Max Aarons. There's a lot of money were involved in those two signings. Ant-Man hasn't impressed at all since he's came in. So that you can go through each one, and for every success, there are still, I think, more that are either in the jury's out or failure category.
And of course, Russell Martin,
and that's the key thing. Even if he had signed all these good players, he then gave them to a manager who couldn't get anything out of them. So no, I don't think you can turn around. I think that there probably will be a bit of revisionism that goes on with Kevin Thelwell, but for me, I'm in the lest we not forget about, that there were a lot of errors. And the fact that Danny Rule is now turning things round, I don't think that reflects better on Kevin Thelwell, to be honest. He's a nice guy, Danny Rule, so he says. But, let's not forget that if Danny Rule had been that impressed with, he's handing out credit, but if Danny Rule had been that impressed with Kevin Thelwell and the squad that he'd built, Kevin Thelwell would still be there.
Yes, he would.
Right?
Yes,
the fact is that clearly when Rangers have done their internal, they've asked Danny Rule what he thinks of the squad, and I think we would all agree he said, look, it's weak,
I've not got many green lights here, Kev.
Well, that's exactly it. So I think that we need to be very careful of that. Did he do that bad a job? He did do a bad job, yes. He might have spotted some good players in among it, that's right, but he hired Russell Martin, the wrong decision. And it looked at the time, this was not a benefit of hindsight one. Took too long to sack him, championed him, and then at best in the window, you might have some good players, but he's not going to have even a 50% hit rate, I would say, for that summer. And then you're going to get to if he was doing that well and these players were a lot better than we thought, like the majority of them, would we need to be going out and spending all this money right now? No. We would maybe need one or two, but we wouldn't need to be going out the way we're going out. So no, I'm not prepared. The guy was just a disaster. He was sacked after 4 months for a reason, and that was a decision that was totally correct in my opinion.
This might be a point. It takes me a little while to get to my point. If that makes, I said point too many times, but if that makes sense. Loads of rumours about Max Aarons kicking about. Now there's loads of rumours about everything kicking about, right? But the fact that we are looking at bringing Olsen in on a loan would suggest to me that there may be some truth in it in terms of cancelling Max Aarons' loan, as there seems to be interest from abroad in him. So a kind of 2 or 3 parter. Number one, does that make sense to you to cancel Max Aarons' loan? If it does, do you trust that Dujon Sterling is going to be able to stay fit enough to either be able to play right back or cover right back? And apologies for all the questions, but that would then leave us with Tav for the rest of the season as our only right back. Or would you then expect us to go out and either purchase or loan to buy another right back?
I think in terms, first of all, we'll take each part as it goes. Max Aarons is currently the third choice fullback at right back at Rangers, because Tav is playing ahead of him and Dujon Sterling, when he was fit, was playing ahead of him. So it's not going to do him any good to sit on the bench here for another 6 months. And if he can get a move to somewhere where he will play football, then I think he should go for it, because clearly the manager is not that big a fan of him. He uses him occasionally as a sub, but clearly he's not somebody the manager thinks he can pin his hopes on. So yes, I think for everybody it's always better if a player has an opportunity to go and play somewhere else than to do it. Secondly, Dujon Sterling, the sad reality is no, because we have no evidence in his whole time at Rangers that will be the case. Hopefully he can come back in, because he's a cracking player when he's fit. But until we get an injury-free run from Dujon Sterling, how can we have any confidence we're going to? It's one of these things that needs to happen before you can think it will happen. And thirdly, yes, if Aarons went out, I think we would probably need to bring a right back in.
Could that possibly? And I'm so sorry, because you've just mentioned revisionism and always looking back the way, and why do we do this as supporters? Nathan Patterson, is that somebody that you would look at and go, that's a move that we should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You don't need to be obsessive about it the way that some people are with ex-players. I had somebody a couple of weeks ago tell me that we should sign Scott Arfield. I love Scott Arfield. There are very few
coach, there
are very few bigger Scott Arfield fans out there than me, but at this stage, no. But Patterson is slightly different in that, take away the fact that he played for Rangers and is, a Rangers fan, which is not a bad thing. A Scottish boy in a team that I think we all agree could do with a touch of that, of Scottish Rangers supporters in it, never harms. But we've got Scotland International who might be available, then yeah, cool. Why wouldn't you look at it?
Injuries?
Of it, that's the thing. And that's why I say you would look at it and you would say to yourself, right, injury-wise, is he going to come in? Which is probably why a loan would suit initially. And you kind of make your mind up on it based on that. But you would certainly look at him based on the ability that he has. Again, though, if you can get a better right back, you take the better right back. But God, yeah, you would look at Nathan Patterson. If Nathan Patterson, the footballer, was available to you without the previous connection, you would be looking at him. So, yeah, if he became available, then I think he would be one that and wanted to move, and I'm sure he would. Then you bring him in, certainly. Very, very good player. Again, it's the whole when fit thing. He has had some terrible luck with injuries. But look, you can sign a guy who's never had an injury in his puff and he gets injured the day after you get him. But you still need to be careful. Like the reality is, if somebody's got a brilliant injury record, the chances are they're not going to pick up. You can't guarantee it, but clearly somebody who picks up a lot of short-term injuries. But I think if he was available, he's fully fit, no problems at the medical, yeah, you would certainly consider it.
Have you, just on a side note from Rangers, have you seen what's went on at Hearts?
Yeah. They
mental,
signed a
by the way.
contract, but then it turns out
the club have agreed to sell him.
Yeah, they can agree to sell him, but unless he signs for that team, then the pre-contract with Hearts is what's happening. You can't force him into the deal. So the club might say we've accepted an offer. I'm sure they have, but if he's signed a pre-contract deal with Hearts, then
surely a pre-contract's binding anyway as a contract.
It depends. You can put in, either side can put in clauses, but generally speaking, yes. But if he signs something with Hearts and he hasn't signed something with the other club, then they can accept as many bids as they like. It doesn't matter.
See, that just struck me as that is something that could have happened to us a few years ago.
But then
that's just that strikes me as a Cortez, for example.
It can always happen though, because the club in question probably want a fee rather than for the guy to go for zero, so they're probably keener to get him out the door right now. What it does is it puts Hearts in a stronger position if they want to try and negotiate him now rather than wait for the summer.
Right, okay, back to Rangers. We have made a signing today, David. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce his first name. I believe on Rangers TV they kind of pronounced it more Tour.
Tour, aye, as in
Tour Romans, a left back, a position that we desperately needed because, as you mentioned earlier, and as a lot of people have been saying, Magoma's not played a lot of men's football. He's only 18 years old and he's played nearly every game at left back for us. And we've seen with players in the past, especially at that age, if you play too much football, then you end up with quite bad injuries as you get on in your career. Is this a signing that excites you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know a lot about him, but having listened to what Sam Shirai said about him, not only what he was like as a player, but with his knowledge of Scotland and Scottish football and what's required here, he feels he'll be a success. Physically, seems to have the sort of profile that we're looking for. A couple of our tactics guys had a look at him and we're quite impressed with the numbers and that wee picture they always put up with the diagram. Apparently his was good.
It's virgins that create those diagrams.
Oh fucking yeah, and understand them, but no, I am
joking. I'm
not. I'll wait and see how he gets on. But yeah, look, I want to actually praise Magoma because, like Moore's another one, young lads that came here, and I think Magoma in particular get put in a terrible position where he was, as you say, the only left back. Another thing about Thelma, that's amateurish squad building. You don't sell all your left backs and bring one in. That's just stupid.
No. We had 6 left backs according to Thelma.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the boy and Moore's the same, to have come through that opening period where the criticism was flying, and particularly for young loan players, to not go, oh, screw this noise, I mean, I can't be arsed with this. I'm just going back to, I've got another club at the end of the year. I'm just going to sit tight, wait to be recalled or phone it in. And neither of them have, and they're both growing as players, which is exactly what a loan, should do from the club up above. But I think that in our position, he's just got, now he's not the finished article yet. And he still, there is a lot of room for improvement in his game, but he's been solid enough, and I think he's been dependable, and I think the boy deserves credit for that, because like I say, it would have been really easy to chuck it and to say, I don't need this. And he hasn't. And I'm not sure you can say that for all the signings, some of whom are a lot older than him. And a lot more experienced than him. So I do want to give him credit, but you can't go through the season in any position with one player. It's just not realistic. And the fact that you're bringing somebody in, also competition is always good because people need to raise their levels. But the fact that Magoma's doing so well means that we can, bed Romans in as well. But I am looking forward to seeing him in the team, yes.
Oh, 100%. But listen, I'm with you. I think young Jade Magoma deserves all the credit in the world. He's, like you say, he's stood up where other players haven't.
We're
And
men,
and I think he's also been really good at the same time.
Yeah, like I say, I don't think he's perfect yet, right? He still maybe gets taken a wee bit too easy on the outside at times, and he's position, and by that I mean his body position, and sometimes he's not in the right position to block off a run. But his game, he's learning. You can see he's learning. He keeps going. He's never gave us a moment's bother, and he's always available. And yeah, I just think that him and Moore's the same. That they'll never have experienced anything like what they experienced in the first few months here, because it was toxic at a huge club, and they'll never go through that again. Because, as you mentioned at the start, up here, Rangers is everything, right? Every news bulletin, every newspaper, phone and social media, everything dominated by us.
Every second person on the street that you walk past.
So you can never get away from it. And instead of just going, Oviajaria style, oh, this is too much for me, I'm out of here. Both of them have went, nope, okay, I'll knuckle down, I'll work hard, I'll try and improve myself and improve my game. And both are starting to deliver. And I think they both, as individuals, deserve a lot of credit. But you need options. You need and again, and this is not to say anybody's perfect. So, for instance, the game against Aberdeen and previous games, even on this win and run, you felt that if we did a wee bit more quality or a few more options up front, we could have won those games quite comfortably. And in the end, they were all quite nervy. And there's nothing wrong with that. Moore in an attack should be an option among several, right? Magoma should be an option. And instead, they've been having to play every game. But now we're hopefully seeing that begin to change.
You know how we always say, don't fall in love with a lone player, right? Yes. We say it every time we sign somebody on loan. One thing I've never said is a lone player should never fall in love with a club if he's not going to stay permanently. But Mikey Moore, David, seems to have not just embraced Rangers Football Club, but almost fallen in love with Rangers Football Club. It would appear from tattoos and things that he has said in the press, and it gives you that false hope that maybe just maybe, even though he'll be worth about 80 to 100 million in a couple of years.
That's the problem with him.
Yes. But it gives you, but football does mental things to you, David.
Are you
allowed to say mental anymore?
The best bet. What's to do with your mental health? So yeah, the best bet we'd have to get Mikey Moore back is if Tottenham wanted to go out on loan again, and we could maybe get him for another year.
Or we send him down south and say, "I'm not playing another minute until you sell me to Rangers."
His father-in-law is a massive bear, right? A huge bear, and as are all his family. So that probably is a part to it. I was speaking to Michael Bridge, the Sky reporter, who's a Tottenham fan openly, and he has a fondness for Rangers, I think it's fair to say. But he said he was like, Moore in the summer was like, it's the only place I want to go. As soon as he heard there was interest, he's like, I want to go there. And part of it was family, part of it was Jermaine Defoe, who said, you've got to go there. You have to experience it. But even before he arrived here, Tottenham rated him about 20 million. That'll have gone up. That Old Firm goal alone, we'll have seen it go up. He is viewed in England as a future England player. Yeah. He's captained them all the way through, under schoolboys, under 18s, under 19s. He's seen as a future England international. And he's seen at Tottenham as a star player of the future. They don't see him as, like a youngster who might make it. They see him as being an absolute, essential part of their future. So financially, it wouldn't be possible. But he's doing well for us, key thing. And there's two benefits to this. One, if he does well up here and he goes down the road raving about it and telling everybody, what, that was amazing, that was fantastic, you need to experience it. That helps us recruit players, not just, in the loan market, but just in general, like Jermaine Defoe does.
Yeah.
The fact that he's out there talking about that helps. And secondly, it also says to clubs, you can give us your players and we'll send you back a better player. Much in the same way that our loans should be like that. When we loan a player out, a club should send them back to us better. Otherwise, you send them to a different club. That you send the next one to a different club. That's how it should work. So yeah, the cracking wee player again. Still learning his trade. He's still decision making as we Mikey Moore. That'll come with experience. He's got everything to be a top player. He's got intelligence, quick feet, scores goals, direct, links up really well. He just needs the decision making and when to release the ball. When to send the pass and when to hold on to it. But that'll all come. That's experience. And they're at Parkhead though, and that's a quick way to Rangers fans' hearts.
Yeah. I mean, are you saying, David, that there isn't just even a 0.001% chance?
There is no chance of Rangers signing
David, 0.001.
There isn't a 0.001 chance of Rangers signing Mikey Moore on a permanent deal. You maybe, if Tottenham are prepared to let him go out on loan again, might be able to get him on another loan. You will not be able to sign him. Rangers, nobody in Scottish football, it would be, if it wasn't already a huge part of our budget, next summer it would probably be more. And it wouldn't surprise me. As I say, it wouldn't surprise me if in 5 years Mikey Moore's playing for England.
So for anybody who's currently eating cornflakes, my apologies because David's just pissed over them. So yeah, there we go. So you heard it here first, folks. There's a 0.001% chance. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
And like that's the thing. That's a good way to use loans. You should get in people who can help you for a season who you might not be able to necessarily afford. Although it's great when you can get in somebody like, it looks like, Scott Wilson.
Yes.
Not Scott Wilson, as some people have accused me of saying.
A few people have said it, and I've heard Scott Wilson.
Well, you think it's Scott Wilson, but I pronounce my T's, so I'm quite offended by that. I'm not one of these people who, like, I say beautiful, I don't say beautiful.
See, I don't pronounce my T's.
Yeah, I pronounce my T's. That's a Glasgow glottal stop. That's what that is. But I pronounce my T's. But yeah.
Because my name's Martin, and I hate people that say Martin. I hate it.
I've always pronounced my T's deliberately because Celtic fans don't say the T in Celtic.
I'm going to start pronouncing my T's.
Yeah, so I always, like, right from a kid, I was like, when I heard them say Celtic, I'm like, right, well, I'll make sure I always put a T in there. But yeah, I just think, that we've got, potentially, if you get him in on a loan to buy, then that's a great deal. That's absolutely ideal. That's exactly what you want. And
is he a game changer, David? Is Scott Wilson a game changer?
In form, yeah. If he settles, that's the thing. You can't say for certain with anybody. Ability-wise, yes, he is.
Yeah.
Ability-wise, yes, he is. He is a cut above anything we have. 40 caps for Denmark, quality footballer, done well at the clubs he's been at. He's not, don't get me wrong, I don't want anybody to think I'm sitting here saying he's Lamine Yamal. He's not, but he's a very good professional footballer who is capable of scoring goals and creating for us. But you never know with a signing. It's that simple. And let's face it, I'm sure we'll all be very sensible. And if he plays his first match,
which was going to be my next point to you, David,
I'm
we're
sure.
so hyped up, and I've seen some of your guys as well over at Heart and Hand get quite excited about the possibility of Olsen coming in, and I just worry slightly that if he comes in and in his first game the ball gets past him and he takes a poor touch, is that it? Are we going to be shouting and screaming?
Guaranteed. Yeah, I think what might help is that because people are excited about it, they tend to give When you're excited about play, you give them a bit more of a chance. But don't get me wrong, we need these guys, all of them. Chuck Wani's another one. We need them to hit the ground running because there's a league to be won.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want, to build. And if we get Scott Wilson from, he comes in and on a loan and does well and we buy him in the summer, brilliant. You want him to do well for 2-3 years for you. But there is a league to be won. So we do need them to come in and hit the ground running and contribute. And if they do that, then we'll be in a pretty solid position.
I mean, the rumour is 3 million loan deal, possible 7 million at the end for the option.
I don't think the loan deal's as much as that. I think you're probably looking closer to 2 and 8.
Well, yeah, it's like you say, but it's going to be a substantial loan.
Yes, it is. Yes,
loan fee, which you would expect if you're getting a player of a specific quality. That's the way the world works. If you want posh food, you don't go to Lidl's.
No, you get some decent stuff. That's unfair.
I shop at Lidl's, but
I don't. But when I go there, I I do like a look up the little middle aisle.
That's where they get you, but that's exactly where they get you.
Who knew that you needed this stuff?
No. Do you know who else gets you? B&M gets you.
B&M does get you, yes.
Slippers.
They get you with that. Don't fucking start. But I'm excited. Look, let's be honest, right? Every Rangers fan gets excited about a Danish winger, right?
Yeah.
That'll never change, right? That just fact. So he is exciting, but he has real quality, and I think technically he's a level above anything we've got, maybe with the exception of Moore, but he's more experienced and things I've mentioned like decision making, etc. And if he can come in, the other thing as well is, Martin, I don't think we're far off having a potentially title winning team this year. I don't think we're far off. Now, that's not to say it's the best ever Rangers team or anything close to it. It's just the state of you don't need to be as good a team as you needed to be in 2002, 2003 to win the league, right? You need to be as good a team as you need to be in 25, 26 to win the league. And Rangers are, at the moment, difficult to play against, brilliant at set pieces, which always keeps you in a game. Not conceding a lot of goals, you have to say, right? So difficult to break down. The one thing I think where we're lacking is that bit of quality, that X factor. And if we can get that and some more depth into the side, then we are capable of winning the title. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's not to say we definitely will. I'm just saying that the other thing is that where Rangers are at the moment is that we're in a good place because we've gone through that painful thing and then emerged. I think there's a growing belief among the squad, which is the most important thing, but certainly among the support as well. I don't know if we'll win the league, but I do think we won't be far away. When the talking starts, that's I think the key point. And if you'd said that to me 6 weeks ago, I would have went. But I think that.
But David, sorry to interject. Are you the same as kind of the way that I'm feeling about it, where I'm looking at how well we've done in the last few games. I'm looking at going to Parkhead and winning. I'm looking at going to Pittodrie and it being the most comfortable game I can remember us having at Pittodrie, right? And I'm looking at the signings that we're making. I'm looking at the owners that we've got, and yet still my head's going, chill, calm, don't get too ahead of yourself. You don't know what's going to happen. Do you think people of a certain vintage, people who grew up watching the Rangers in the 90s and the early 2000s, where we had so much success, and even in the seasons where Celtic won the league, you knew either the season after or the season after that we were going to win the league because that's just how it went. Do you think since 2012, for people that have maybe got into Rangers sort of after that or during that time, they're looking at this and getting really excited about it because they're seeing what's happening, whereas some of the older bears are maybe sitting back and going, I'm reserving judgment until I see it?
Yeah, I think that people have been hurt so often where they've believed and it hasn't happened, so they're kind of trying to protect themselves against it, and that's totally understandable. where you're sitting going, I'm not getting excited yet because, they broke my heart before. I never really understand that because it will still break your heart regardless. It's not like, but some people, a defence mechanism, a coping strategy is to say it's all going to be rubbish. And then if it's not rubbish, they go, oh, I'm delighted to be proved wrong. Right.
Yes.
But if it does go badly, they can then say, see, I told you so.
Oh, no,
and
don't do that.
And they seem to get a bit of compensatory pride in doing that. And I'm not like that.
No.
I am, I mentioned this about going to Parkhead. I was quietly confident, right? I wasn't, we are definitely going to win. But nor was I, oh my God, the fear. And I think that's sort of where I am. I believe this Rangers team can win the league. That's not me saying that they will, but I believe that they can, which is a step forward from a couple of months ago where I didn't, because it was a ludicrous notion at the time, right? Danny Rule has done really well. I think the next challenge, he's came in and he's shown he could do well with a really threadbare squad. The next challenge is how does he do when he starts to get some more of his own players? How does he do when the expectations change? Because as you say, people are starting to get excited. And how, so there's still a lot of challenges to be faced, and you don't know what will happen until we see it happen. But it's just nice to be in the ride, for a while, because I thought the roller coaster had fucked off without us earlier in the season.
Do you not think those expectations have now changed? Because, and again, I don't know if you feel the same. I know it's a competitive game. Obviously, against Annan and Friday, the only thing you're expecting there is a Rangers win, nothing else, right? And then we've got Europe on a week on Thursday, and we're out of Europe. So does this almost feel right now like a sort of mini international break?
In a way, yeah.
A couple of games where we expect to beat Annan regardless of what team we put out, and then we'll put out the new signings as well if we can in the European game if they can be registered or whatever. But they've got time to bed in, which now means that we're sitting back and going, they should be bed in by the time the competitive games start back. So the pressure's on.
The real bonus is that, because I was like January the 1st, there's the signings, right? But
we need them before Aberdeen.
Because they've won these matches, then it became a situation that the players and manager had created for themselves. It became ideal where you can get the guys in, as you say, get them training, possibly give some of them a game against Annan to get them bedded in at Ibrox, and then they go into the league campaign, the following week. So yeah, there has been a little break. It was a crazy period. Look at all the games we played from Hibs through to Aberdeen away last week, right? Every 3 days, just constant big game after big game after big game. And the Hibs win was a good win. Hearts defeat was really disappointing, and we didn't play well. But the bounce back from that has been terrific. It was a tough run of fixtures. Motherwell are a very good team. St Mirren are a good team, right? Proven it already. Celtic away is our toughest fixture. Always is, always will be. And Aberdeen home and away, there's not. I know that's not a good Aberdeen team, and it isn't. But if anyone would love to throw a spanner in the works for us, it's them. And as you say, it's the way that these games have all been managed. Now we need to push on and see where that takes us.
Do you think, and I've been a bit hypocritical here from what I've just said, but do you think any of the European games coming up, if we play what's perceived as a strong team or a first team, do you think that will be any sort of indicator of where this Rangers team is, considering the previous performances that we've had in Europe, which let's face it, have been quite frankly embarrassing? Do you think in Europe, if we play well, maybe win a couple of the games, regardless if it doesn't really mean anything, will that be a barometer, do you think, of where this Rangers team is?
Well, there's £3 million in prize money to be won.
Well, true.
In these two matches. So, the big games in their own way, to us as supporters, they don't matter anywhere near as much. But we need to start rebuilding that credibility. I don't want to surrender the hard-fought European credibility that we've had over the last 7 years. So it's been a disastrous season, but pick up a couple of wins and go into next season's European competition, in a better place than you started out from. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with us as supporters prioritising the league and cup because we want silverware. That's there's nothing wrong with that. The big test is going to come because I'll tell you this right now: Hearts, Celtic, and us are all going to have games where we drop points from now to the end of the season. None of the three teams, I'll confidently state right now, will win every game. Well, clearly they won't because they need to play each other. It'll be how we react to that, right?
Do you see Hearts in it for a long run?
Yes, you have to at the moment. Until Hearts drop out, it would be wrong and disrespectful to say because they have not shown any signs that they are for imminent collapse. So no, until they're not, they are. And right now they're the favourites because both us and Celtic would swap our position with them. So no, I'm taking Hearts more because I have been all season. It'll burst. It's not bursting. It's not showing signs of bursting. So no, we take them seriously. But it'll be how the supports handle that. And we need to be, it's easy to say sitting here with 5 wins and all fun winning everything. I get that, but we need to keep our big boy and big girl pants on and say, okay, we didn't win this game. Next, let's get back into it. There will be twists and turns. It's going to be a title race. I don't think Celtic support will handle that well because I don't think they like the idea of competition at all. They seem almost offended by it. Hearts fans at home is going to be interesting because we know what it's like when the nerves kick in a game. It can transfer onto a player, onto players. So that'll be a new experience for them. I'd kind of compare it actually to Arsenal right now. I watched Arsenal-Liverpool, and in the second half, that stadium, you could sense it was so nervous, and it kind of translated to players. So we've got our part to play in it as well as supporters at the club. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I really do. I mean, but like I say, the biggest thing for me at the moment is that Rangers are even involved in it because after Tynecastle even, I thought it looked a long shot. But now we've put ourselves into a position where we can legitimately say, yeah, we are involved in this at the moment. And there will be matches, difficult matches. There'll be matches that, we might draw or drop 2 points here or there or whatever. But I think so will they. So it's about, as a supporter, I would say it's about not getting too high, not getting too low. Just remembering that nothing is handed out in January. It'll be May before they hand out that prize, and we need to keep going till then. We are doing what we can, I think, as a club. We're tooling up for it. That's what these new signings are for. We're tooling up for it. We're trying to give ourselves the best chance we have to do it. Nobody is fooled that Rangers squad is all of a sudden, as I say, Advocat 99 level. It's not. We know that. It has gaps. It has weaknesses. But can it provide a level of performance between now and the end of the season that can get it to title? I think it can.
As a supporter, and I would imagine, I'm not, in fact, I'm not going to speak for you. As a supporter, how do you feel? Do you like this freeway title race? Do you like the fact that Hearts are involved? Do you want to see more? Do you care who's involved in a title race? Would you like to see, for the benefit of not only Scottish football, but for Rangers as well moving forward, do you want to see a more competitive top league?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I want to see us involved in it, and I want to see us be good enough to win it. I'm a great believer, and this is maybe the arrogance of the time that I grew up that never really goes away, that if Rangers are good enough, we'll win the title. So I want us to be good enough to win the title. If Hearts and Celtic are competitive with us, then that's fine. We need to be better than them. We need to beat them and win the points. And if we do that, then we'll win the title. So no, I don't care. As you mentioned, I don't care if it's Hearts or if it's Celtic or if it's Aberdeen or whoever. I don't care. It's all about, for me, Rangers winning it. I think, I'm all about what Rangers win rather than what anybody else does.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't care what anybody else does, only in the context of how it affects my club.
That's exactly why I asked, because if you have a Hearts with this Jamestown stuff, which I always shudder when I hear that, right? I hate that word,
It
Jamestown, because
works.
for obvious reasons, though I don't like the word Jamestown. But you've got the Jamestown analytics thing. If you have Hearts competing every year, if you then have a Motherwell with a good manager who get back to a wee bit more compete every year, and then these teams start doing better in Europe, that brings in more sponsorship. That brings in more advertising at the Scottish game. That brings in more money for winning the league. Me and you spoke right at the very beginning. For finishing bottom of the EPL, you get like 190 million or some craziness over 3 years. For winning the Scottish League, you get a time out and a coffee.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. Look, obviously, and the other thing about it is I want Rangers to be playing big games. You know, like I remember, the late 80s. If you were playing Hearts, it was a big game because they were a good side. If you're playing Dundee United, it was a big game because they were a good side. If you were playing Celtic, obviously, it was a big game. If you're playing Aberdeen, it was a big game. I want to be involved in big games. I don't want us to be, going along and it's just a chore and you just need to tick off.
Ibrox is silent.
Yeah, it's just get this done and get the win and then we can go home. They should be big games that really capture your imagination. So, the more the better. I just want Rangers to be better than everybody else. And so long as we are, then we'll be fine.
I just want us to pick up.
If we're allowed to score a goal, I mean, what is it? Rangers have had...
Listen, me and you could sit here and talk about refs if you want, but we'll be here next Wednesday.
15 goals disallowed in 22 games. That has got to be a world record.
Well, I've seen them, and I think at least 7 are extremely questionable. At least 7 are extremely questionable.
Yeah, there is zero doubt that referees in Scotland are getting the fine tooth comb out and poring over. And there's a bigger debate happening about this, and I'm glad about VAR in general in football. And I notice it's happening in England as well, because it wasn't brought in for this. It wasn't brought in where you get people sitting down saying, can we rule this out? And that's what they're doing. They are looking for reasons to rule out goals. That's not what it's about. You should be sitting there going, is there anything? I've just watched a replay. I can't see anything now, so it's good to go.
If that's Carter Vickers or Scales, and I don't say this very often, right? But if that's Carter Vickers or Scales against Miovski, that's a goal.
100% it is.
It's a goal.
And I think that this, let me go back and check tackle. No, that's not what this was brought in for. Have a quick look. If there's nothing that jumps out at you, then there was nothing happened. Or certainly nothing that happened. And it was the same last night with Manchester City and Newcastle. Manchester City had a goal disallowed ludicrously. And that's, I think, what's kind of prompted this discussion. But VAR in general, it is just spoiled because fans don't get excited about goals. You wait 3 minutes because that as a Rangers fan, that there is someone who is sitting trying to find something to rule it out. That's not how it should be. It should be clear and obvious, and it should be, right, okay, do I see anything? No, I don't. Let's get on with this. Freezing things down to frame by frame, looking for any sort of potential infringement is not football. And it is spoiling it as a viewing experience.
Totally. Because as soon as Fernandez scored, I went, because there's been any sort of contact.
Any contact in the keeper,
I'm going to chop it off.
They'll chop this off.
Of course, it is Mitov. I said Miovski. Apologies. Of course, it is Mitov.
And it is. It's so true. And as I say, it's not just us, although it's us a lot, right? I mean, 15 to 22, come on. But I think that in general, you are, and no disrespect to anybody that's a referee, but anybody that's a referee has always struck me. Anybody who wants to be a referee always strikes me as being, the wee guy at school that was, glasses and
Andrew Dallas,
really like math. And it just you
you
didn't get, if you want to be a referee, I don't think you got invited to a lot of parties in your youth, right? I'll put it that way.
I absolutely concur.
You're handing these wee officious men power and the chance, and of course they're taking it, and they're now taking it to extreme. And so there's loads of things you could do to make VAR better. Cap it at 90 seconds. Quick look. If you don't see something, And if you can't tell within 90 seconds, then it's not clear and obvious. And secondly, this frame by frame stuff, no, they should be made to watch it in real time only. And if they can't see anything in real time, done.
Just wrapping up now, David. I just have to ask, how was the live show at Edmiston House, which I believe was sold out?
It was. Things are so much easier when Rangers are winning. No, it was very good. Enjoyed it. Great. Mark Haley was brilliant. He's so funny and had so many amazing stories. As you can imagine, the squad he played with in the time, and told us a brilliant story about Rangers when they went on their 44 game unbeaten run. We were 1-0 down at home to Aberdeen, and we'd been rubbish. And as we were walking off, the goalie says to Nigel Spackman, "You were at fault for that goal." And Spackman says, "Sit down, you fat bastard." And Mark says, so we all sit down in our seats. He says, but we see the goalie walking over to Spackers. He says, who knows what's coming? He says, and he just clocked him full on, right flush on the jaw. He said, and the next thing, Walter just put his head in and said, "You've got this?" And Goffey went, "Aye, don't worry, we've got this." He said, "We sorted it out. Words were had. People who needed to get the finger out were told to get the finger out. We walked out there, played them off the park, beat them 3-1, didn't lose for 44 games." He said, and Walter always knew, apparently. He came in and he would look at Archie, and Archie would go, which meant you're fine, or which meant you need to come in and talk to them. He said,
you just wouldn't get that anymore.
Said we sorted it ourselves because they were men. And it was a case of, you should have done that. I should have. You're right. You need to do this, right? Oh, you're right. I do. We need more here. We need, and it was just brilliant. So yeah, it was really, really good. And it's such a nice venue. Edmiston House, the staff are brilliant in it. But I'm always relieved when they're done, because you get because people are coming, they've paid money to see you, and until it's done and I hear whether or not people enjoyed it, because my biggest worry is people go home and go, that was a complete waste of money. So people seem to enjoy it, and that's a key thing.
Well, I didn't enjoy it, but I wasn't there. So.
Well, there you go.
And you were just happy because you were the tallest person on stage.
Big Mark, obviously.
Apart from Mark,
but the other two. But as you've said before, I'm surprisingly tall. People seem to think that I'm short, and I'm not. And yeah, it was, and it was great because Stevie and CJ were shitting bricks, So of course, me and the big man were just winding them up before we're going on. We're like, so many people out there, and if you say one thing wrong, oh my God, can you imagine the embarrassment? So it was great. We had them absolutely shitting themselves before they went up, but they relaxed and they enjoyed it. And yeah, all good. So hopefully we're back there in May for a title party.
Well, yes, and I'll be there to support you, David, because that's just the kind of guy I am. Right, listen, folks, that will do us for tonight. So thank you very, very much to everybody who has tuned in. A massive thank you, by the way, to channel member Jim Sloan. The refs are corrupt. It's definitely clear and obvious, as Jim's point with his super chats. So, Jim, thank you very, very much, my friend. I hope you're having a good evening. Me and David will hopefully be back in a couple of weeks to discuss the fact that we're running away with the league. And everything's going fantastic, and the new players have bedded in, and everything is just glorious.
Well, as you said, though, we'll only have played one more league game by the time we're back on.
Stop pissing on the cornflakes.
No, it's good. It's nice and relaxed.
Yeah, well, I know. It's as relaxed as I've been as a Rangers supporter for about 20 years. So, yeah, there we go. Right, folks, go and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Thank you to everybody over in Heart and Hand for putting up with my dulcet tones. And thank you to everybody over on the Rabble Network as well. And we shall all speak very, very soon.